Were the Templars suppressed because they were in league with the devil? Were the Teutonic Knights genocidal maniacs? Are these holy orders of knights paladins, or simply monks who kick ass? These and other questions will be answered right after this. I'm Professor Jerome Arkenberg, and I've been teaching a wide variety of history courses at colleges across this country for the past 30 years. In this video, I'm going to tell you about when and where the Crusading Orders emerged, the Knights Hospitallers, the Templars, and the Teutonic Knights. At the end, I'll have the wrap-up quote on this video. But first, make sure to click like, share, and subscribe, and that little bell thingy, so I can continue to bring you more great videos just like this one. Paladins, a cross between monks and knights, began as monastic orders to care for and protect pilgrims to the Holy Land, and only later, after the First Crusade, to defend it from the forces of Islam. You see here on this chart, this is the order of orders. When and where each of the main orders of knights, the holy orders of knights, emerged, and how they split off from each other. Here, of course, is a great depiction of the holdings of the various orders of paladins, primarily the Templars, the Teutonic Knights, and the Hospitallers, the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, in the Holy Land itself. All of these crusading orders of Knights Paladin were bound by a rule, mostly a combination of the rule of St. Augustine with a smattering of the Benedictine rule, much as any other regular monastic order was, meaning they were not just knights, but clergy. Now, most were not priests, though most monks were not priests, but some, just like some monks, were priests, to enable them to give last rites on the battlefield. However, there was a general exception. They, unlike other clergy, could wield weapons in battle, inflict injury, and actually kill in battle without it being considered either murder or a sin, essentially making them monks who kick ass. The Knights Hospitallers began as monks dedicated to caring for poor, sick, or injured pilgrims to the Holy Land in the year 1023. And in 1099, after the capture of Jerusalem during the First Crusade, they became the first order of Paladins, chartered by the Pope to care and defend both the Holy Land and its pilgrims. By 1200, the Hospitallers, led by a Grand Master, and these are the heraldic shields of the various Grand Masters, were divided into two types of knights. One, secular knights, who served only for a term of years. Second, professed knights. These joined for life and enjoyed benefit of clergy. At first, they wore black robes with a white cross, but from 1248, they switched to red robes with a white cross, much like the Swiss flag. They exist today as the Knights of St. John, with their own sovereign state in Rome. Yes, first the order of the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, and then when the Holy Land was lost, they got kicked out, they became the Knights of St. John of Rhodes, the Knights of Rhodes. Eventually, when they lost Rhodes, they continued to fight. They took residence in Malta, where they became the Knights of Malta. And when Napoleon kicked them out in 1798, they received refuge in Rome. Yes, they have control of 2 buildings, about a block or so in Rome itself, which is regarded by Italy and about 120 other states as sovereign territory. They issue their own stamps and coinage and have ambassadors to the United Nations. Unfortunately for the Knights Templar, they didn't wind up in such a great benefit. In 1129, the Knights Templar were approved as an order of Paladins at the Council of Troyes, seen here, and when St. Bernie, that's St. Bernard of Clairvaux, advocated for them, thousands joined and donations poured in. In 1139, Pope Innocent II issued a papal bull stating that the Templars could pass freely through any border, could not be forced to pay any tax, were only subject to the Pope's authority, and, as they could not retreat in battle without direct orders from their Grand Master, the Templars thus became the elite shock troops of their day. Essentially, the Navy SEAL teams, the Army Rangers, the key fighting force of Western Christianity. At their peak, there were between 15 to 20,000 Templars, but only about 10% fought on the front lines in the Holy Land. Most members were in supporting positions back in Europe. This doesn't sound right, but that's typical for modern-day combat troops. Usually the ratio is, for every combat soldier, there are 18 others in support. So 9-10 to 1 is not bad. Anyway, as I said, most members were in support positions back in Europe, acquiring and managing the lands, monies, and knights needed for the fight. So as a result, the Templars established the world's first, well, or at least Europe's first, multinational corporation, buying and managing farms, vineyards, and manufactories, building churches and castles, importing and exporting raw materials and finished goods with their own fleet of ships, and for a time they controlled the entire island of Cyprus. Besides managing their own properties, the Templars began managing those of others going on crusade, and with priories throughout Europe and the Holy Land. In 1150, the Templars began generating letters of credit for pilgrims. Pilgrims who would deposit their valuables with the local priory, get a receipt, and use that receipt on arrival in the Holy Land to retrieve their funds, for a small fee, of course. Now, talked about this earlier. Of course, if you ran out of money along the way, you could stop in at any Templar priory, get some more money, and then you would be issued a new receipt, letting you know of the lesser amounts that you have withdrawn. Essentially, they invented the traveler's check. Now, Templar Knights, who had to have been already trained and dubbed as knights when they joined, took a vow of obedience, and henceforth wore white robes with a scarlet cross on front and back. They were forbidden from owning any real or personal property, could not write or receive private letters, certainly could not marry. In fact, they had to swear celibacy when they took the vow to join, nor were they allowed to join any other order. Most, of course, joined for life, following the Latin rule, largely drawn up for the Templars by St. Bernard of Clairvaux, as a mixture of the monastic rule of St. Augustine and St. Benedict. Each region had its own master, And here are the heraldic shields of the Grand Masters of the Knights Templar. Not as many because they were suppressed, of course. Anyway, each region had its own master, each of whom were subject to a Grand Master appointed for life. However, these had a rather short shelf span, you might say, because all but 2 died in battle. It's like, guess what? You get to be the Grand Master, and we're going to paint this giant target on your back. Anyway, the Grand Master was to oversee the Templars' military efforts in the Holy Land, also their vast and extensive financial holdings in Europe. And this chart here, as you see, all the little ones in green is where the Templars had their priories. Notice, of course, most of the Templars are drawn from northwestern France, this area right about here, and from England. A little bit sparser out east towards Germany and Poland. Very few in Italy, and some sprinklings here in Iberia. However, when the Holy Land was lost in 1291, support for the Templars fell, and King Philip IV of France, deeply in debt to them, in 1307 solved his debt problem by having all of the members in France arrested, seizing all their property, and then, for good measure, burning them at the stake. Phil then forced the Pope Clement V, then under Phil's control, as he was residing in Avignon in the south of France, to declare them all disbanded in 1312. This, however, did not sit well with many other kings and princes. Many of them were great supporters. Nonetheless, across Europe, the remaining Templars were arrested, tried, but usually acquitted. As again, many of the secular princes resented the role of the French king and his control of the Pope in this. Then the surviving Templars then either were allowed to join other orders like the Hospitallers, who, by the way, kind of did the first hostile takeover. They got control of the Templars' property everywhere, except in France, where, of course, the French king got it, and Iberia. Or they were pensioned off and allowed to live out their days in peace, except in Portugal, where the king refused to go along with the Templar ban. And there they were allowed to reconstitute as the Order of Christ and exist there to the present day. Another great order, the Teutonic Knights, were formed in the Holy Land in 1190 during the Third Crusade. That's the one with Richard Lionheart and Saladin and the rest. Before moving first to Hungarian Transylvania, as to be a bulwark against the oncoming Turks, where, however, they tried to set up their own kingdom and had to be actually attacked and suppressed by the King of Hungary and driven out. Then they went to heathen Prussia in 1230, where they converted the land to Catholicism by genocidal slaughter of the natives. The Teutonic Knights then warred against Christian Poland and Lithuania before they were decisively defeated in 1410 by a joint Polish-Lithuanian army at the Battle of Grunwald, were forced to become vassals of the Polish king. We see here, of course, these are the heraldic shields of the Grand Masters of the Teutonic Knights. Here, of course, was the area of Prussia that the Teutonic Knights had taken over. Knights of the Sword had taken over what is now Latvia, and Poland, Lithuania. And, of course, these are depictions of the battle with the victorious King Yagewo, who has just beaten the crap out of the Teutonic Knights. Besides this, there were many, many other orders. I will list them for you. The Brothers of Dobrzyń, Brothers of the Sword, the Hospitallers of St. James, the Hospitallers of St. Thomas of Acre, the Knights of the Cross with the Red Star, the Knights of St. George, the Knights of St. Julian, the Knights of St. Mary, the Militia of the Faith of Jesus Christ, the Militia of Jesus Christ, the Order of Alcantara, the Order of Ambrac, the Order of Aviz, the Order of Calatrava, the Order of Christ, the Order of Montfrag, the Order of Montisa, the Order of Montjoy, the Order of Our Lady of Bethlehem, the Order of St. George of Carinthia, the Order of St. Lazarus, the Order of St. Maurice, the Order of St. Michael of the Wing, the Order of Santa Maria de España, the Order of Santiago, the Order of the Dragon, the Order of the Faith and Peace, and the Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. The wrap-up quote. Show yourself in the fight. If Christ recognizes you in battle, he will recognize you on the last day. Arise, soldier of Christ, I say arise! Shake off the dust and return to the battle. Do not sleep while the Saracen invade your house, scaling the walls, pouring in at every entrance. The Knight of Christ, I say, may strike with confidence and die yet more confidently. For he serves Christ when he strikes, and serves himself when he falls. Neither does he bear the sword in vain, for he is God's minister, for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of the good. If he kills an evildoer, he is not a man-killer, but, if I may so put it, a killer of evil. St. Bernard of Clairvaux, 1140. Let me know what you think of this quote in the comment section below. Also, what you liked about this video, and what other historical topics or subjects you'd like to see in future videos. Be sure to click like, share, and subscribe, as it will help me bring you more great videos, and click on that little bell thingy so you'll know when the next History Waits for No One video is posted. If you want to know more, there are recommended studies on this topic in the description below, along with other ways to connect with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the past.